Another exciting edition of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. We're going to begin the show with, first of all, an apology. I want to apologize to Tammy Wynette and all her fans out there because I did not know who sung "Stand by Your Man." Is it "Stand by Your Man"? Is the correct song title? Is
I
that
don't know.
is that what it is, Brock?
Someone will correct us. I think so, but what do I know? I was Dolly Parton on that one.
Yeah, I don't float around in the country record bins very often, but I do. Uh, like oh gosh, what's my man's name? Blake Shelton. I do love Blake.
Okay.
Used to listen to Blake on Delta Airlines on my trips out of town because he was featured on their rate. This was long before we had phones and wireless headphones and such. Uh, but when I worked on Channel Five here in Atlanta, we had a really robust country music audience for our show, and the country music artists loved us because they would come here and then go to a Walmart in Snellville and sell their CDs, and the line would be around the block. And so every time Blake came, he was like, "Man, this Walmart over here is insane." He's like, "We love this place." So, but that was how I became a fan of Blake. I mean, just a down to earth, wonderful dude, and he's like a dude's dude. And I couldn't be happier for all the success he's had, man.
Yeah,
Because I
big
interviewed,
success.
yeah,
Wow, the
this is
voice.
like 2003, 2004. I'm talking when I first
Yeah.
met him. Just a good dude, man.
All
So
right, before we dive into our, what frustrates us and is, kind of pushing us towards revolution as we turn the corner in 2026, may surprise you to know that I'm a Casey Musgraves fan.
oh
Somehow
wow.
stumbled upon Casey Musgraves along the way, and big fan of her ditties. She's got a little clever lyricist. But I do believe,
Check
not
her
knowing her
out.
politics, I do believe she is somewhat of a lefty in a red state, being from Texas, based upon the lyrics. But I don't really know
Okay.
much about her beyond that. Um,
Okay.
speaking
I'm
of
really
speaking of
disappointed with
not
Carrie
staying in
Underwood.
our speaking of not staying in our lane, me and you talking country music is probably
It's a
as
problem.
far
It's
out of
a
the
pro-
lane as we can go. Yeah, let's talk international international
yeah,
terrorism
international.
instead. Let's talk about
We
you
are
know
we are we are currently committing war crimes in Venezuela. We've killed 170 people already between these boat attacks and these CIA covert missions, um, all in the name of regime change. Um, I don't understand why it matters at this point. And it doesn't help bring the cost of my eggs down, doesn't help bring the cost of used vehicles down. It doesn't help us build more electric vehicle charging stations. Um, what are we doing? The priorities are all fucked up with Donald Trump.
I still to this day I still don't know what the fuck we're doing down there, and
No,
how that
no
became like
idea.
a hot point for us as, in terms of international relations, and why we think we have the right to seize the assets of a sovereign nation because we don't like the leader. I mean, and we're basically at war without declaring war, which we do all the time as a country, but this is a prolonged period now where we've had all our military assets deployed and we're killing people without
Right.
any justification. So, what's
Well,
the
without
ultimate
any
goal beyond just diverting attention? Are we really going to seize the oil and give it to the oil companies?
Bruh, we don't have authorization from Congress to do any of this shit. Okay? Somebody's going to prison behind this, right? If we thought Ollie North and some of these other scandals, were everybody's going to prison on this one.
Yeah, they have pigs, right? This is like, attack on a sovereign nation, an illicit attack on a sovereign nation without congressional approval. I mean, look, Mike Johnson, the MAGA Congress people basically threw in the towel and said that we're irrelevant. So the fact that Rand Paul, he's the one voice that's complaining about this, but they've
Right.
abdicated any responsibility. But once again, because we're fucking around in Venezuela, it's emboldened China to fuck around in Taiwan, and now we have to deploy warships around Taiwan. I forget whether they're in the Pacific or what ocean, sea they're in.
Right.
And, in essence, to show a sign of strength of defending Taiwan. It just becomes now
Right.
another, let's not call it a hot point yet, right? But it's like lukewarm.
Uh,
Venezuela's a hot point. Lukewarm. You got Ukraine. You had mentioned. Now we're talking about bombing Iran again. I think we
right.
bombed Yemen overnight, or the Saudis bombed Yemen overnight. I guess we sat that one out for a day. I mean, there's
Right.
just
I mean,
conflict all over the world now, and we're
yeah.
not putting it out. We're in, we're part of the problem.
Oh, absolutely. We are fanning the flames every chance we get. And we have a doddering old fool standing next to Netanyahu, who's another criminal, um, basically telling all the secrets. Apparently there was a drone strike at or near the residence of President Putin. How do you think that's going to end? Right? Like, if I'm Volodymyr Zelensky, I'm out of there, right? Because they probably got a bounty on him right now. Because you're not going to bomb or drone strike President Putin and get away with it, right? There's going to be hell to pay for that. And all the while, the European Union, NATO, where are you? You're not policing. Why aren't you sending troops into it? Look, we know that the Russian army is a bunch of bullshit, right? So if we went in there with NATO backing, we could turn this thing back in 2 weeks, right? Which we should have done at the very start. But because President Putin owns our president and has his PP tapes or whatever, or his money laundering through Trump Tower or whatever deal they got going on, we can't have peace in that part of the world. And it makes no sense. We're talking about Brock, have you ever looked at a map and seen the landmass of Russia, the former Soviet Union? It is enormous. It is immense. And this guy is still trying to get more land. I mean, that's all this is a land grab and a power play and war crimes with what we've heard reported that they've done to the people of Ukraine and Russian Jews and the people who live there who weren't able to get away. It's atrocious. It's horrific. And we're sitting here. We used to be the world's moral police. Now we're like some rogue police unit. Well, what are we, Rampart? Like the Rampart scandal? We're the Rampart part of the world? We're a joke. We're a joke. We can't go anywhere telling anybody anything about how to run their country.
So I'm not familiar with the Rampart story. What's that?
Oh, those were the corrupt cops in LA.
The LA cops. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, where they were like
yeah,
the biggest gang in LA.
yeah.
Well, we're making so many decisions that are going to have such long-term negative ramifications. What I think
Absolutely.
most of Americans don't think about is that we pledge support for Ukraine in exchange for them to not be a nuclear nation because we didn't want their nukes on the doorstep of Russia's nukes. So that was the deal. Give
Yep.
up your nukes, we'll protect you. That's a
Yep.
tough decision for a nation to make, to give up the nukes, right? But what nation in the future is ever going to trust us again with any kind of discussion like that? When
Yep.
now they've learned that all it takes is an idiotic election and American racism to drive the bus over here, and all of a sudden our word and our agreements in the past are
Don't mean
meaningless, So no
Yep.
one's ever going to do that again. So we're going to live in a world, even if we get Trump out of here and we turn, we fix America, we're still not going to be able to fix, we're not going to get back the trust and the credibility that we've lost. That'll
No.
take like 100 years. You don't get
Oh,
that back in
easily.
the decades. People, generations of people have to die to forget that you fucked them over for this
Right.
to change. No one who's alive is going to ever trust us again.
No.
They're going to be watching
No.
our elections like a hawk for their entire lifetimes, wondering if we're ever going to elect a Trump again that
Right.
changes any deal, agreement, partnership, allyship that they had with America that it could get overturned in a heartbeat whenever America's racism decides to,
Rear its ugly head.
rear its ugly head and be,
And
the
be the
most important thing
driving
to vote on.
force.
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's racism right now is the driving force, right? What this administration seeks to do is make as much money as it can off the backs of the others, right? And I just don't know how much money can you make in the prison industrial complex? I guess they figure if we lock everybody up, we get them doing cheap labor, we go back to the old new Jim Crow. Um, but what are we manufacturing in the U.S.? There's nothing for the prisoners to work on, right? So what are we stamping license plates? I
I
mean,
mean, I,
what,
I,
what, what, what do we
there's
need?
more money to be made because they're building more detention centers and filling them with, you know, immigrants, recent citizens, army veterans that we decided, to toss away. Brown. So in that respect, these same businesses have. It's been a boom time for them. Year one of Trump 2.0. I don't know what they would, have them working on. I mean, we'll need workers back in the farms, right? If we get customers again, to rebuild farming. Um, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the game or if it's just we're just going to be locked up and that's going to employ prison guards and that's going to get brown people off the streets and they're just going to soak the taxes of everybody else, the 99%. I mean, it's just not a great long-term strategy, right? The math doesn't work.
No, the math ain't mathin'. And think about what we've done to our environment. Now, remember, environmental racism still exists too.
Ah,
Who's helping those folks build their homes back in LA? Right? Altadena, all those homes, that billions of dollars worth of damage from those fires, right? And you think we're not going to have another fire season? No, we are, and more damage is going to be done.
where environmental racism is rearing its ugly head again, and I think the only positive is some of the citizens are a little more in tune with it. Is all these data centers that are getting built for
Oh,
artificial intelligence, right? Because we need all this computing
change
power,
the environment.
and wherever they're built, now they're going to suck away a lot of the power and electricity from the local residents, and it impacts costs. And also those centers they're loud, they emit a lot of shit, like they're just bad news. No one wants those in the backyard, right? You want those somewhere else.
Hell no, it's NIMBY all day. And don't forget its impact on the environment directly with the water, right? Because you need the water to cool the plant down, right? And then that water, which is now, infected with whatever kind,
Yeah.
yeah, right? And you've got to get rid of it. Where's it going? Right? Right through the yards and the backyards of the people, who can least afford to find, better housing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's what Elon Musk is doing down in Texas, right? Just killing the environment with those projects down there. He built his own city. How do we let a fucking South African come to America, build his own fucking city, fuck up our continent, and, wave a hand to him? Say, good job, Elon, right?
got a lot of money, paying a lot of bills, right? He got Trump elected president, right? As much as anyone else, right? He dumped,
Yep.
what, 80, 85 million into the
Yeah, for
campaign, and
both.
he'll do it again, and he'll do it all over the country because we don't limit um, the amount of money that an individual can dump in, or they can just do it through super PACs anyway, right? We've just allowed big money, right?
Right.
We started in one place, but look how easy it was for us to get to like the big problems in America, right? Which is like
Right.
racism and money and politics and influence
Yep.
and all the wealth going to the 1% who then flip around and put it into the politicians who then take care of the 1%. And there we go, the virtuous circle, and everybody else is left out to dry. You know, Mark, my only solace now is, as I've said in the past, I'll say it again, maybe it's been a few months, is that Trump treats white America the way America has treated black America. So
Yeah.
hopefully he is showing such disdain for the quality of life of so many white Americans
Yep.
that we're going to get some sort of solidarity between middle class, complacent white America and black and brown people. And that ultimately is going to be the overwhelming force that protests and forces change in America. That's what has to happen. And Jesus, I mean, MAGA is doing everything they can to piss off middle class white America, right?
Oh,
Affordability, healthcare, like you're just fucking them left
where
and
they
right.
live. It's where they live. Right? Think about middle class white America, upper middle class white business owners, right? Who are going to have to cut staff, right? Who are going to have to offer a less quality service, right? Because they can't afford the number of employees they need to keep up with the amount of orders that they're getting. And, you know, their processes are going to be fucked with, right? Because they can't afford to pay the new premiums that are going to go through the roof in what, 2 days?
Yeah, but the staff that gets laid off is more fucked, right? Because they're not going
Right?
to find other work. They're going to find
Yep.
worse jobs at lower pay. And they're not going to be able to go to an exchange to get health care that is in any way affordable.
Nope.
So I mean,
True.
there it is. There is the blueprint of declining quality of life in America. And it's
Yep.
just playing out everywhere.
Yeah. And we got this big new ugly bill coming into effect too, right? And the tax plan on that apparently raises taxes on single parents. So if you're divorced and you got the kids, you're going to get taxed,
Mhm.
right?
That's a
If you
that's a lot of families, right? It's like
that's
50% of them, right?
that's 50% of them, right?
Yeah.
And then there's single moms out here. There are single moms out here because our society is structured the way it is, right? There are single moms out here that can't afford a tax hike. Then they're going to tax scholarships, right? So you get a scholar. Brock, think of all the scholarships that are given out every year at all the universities.
So what are people going to have to be able to turn down the scholarship because they can't afford the taxes on it?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's a lot of people, a lot of who's getting them are people that are kids who couldn't afford it to go to schools otherwise, but because they're
Well,
exceptional, right? Because they're exceptional, the schools want them. So let's say you get like a $40,000 scholarship to whatever USC or something, UCLA. What would you have to pay? Like four or
let's
five
not go
grand,
to
4 or 5 grand on that? Then like, well, the family might not have the 4 or 5 grand. So then the exceptional people aren't going to be able to get educated. How's that good for the country, right? How's
Yep.
that possibly good for us as a country to not make it better and easier for even the best and the brightest to get opportunities they wouldn't get otherwise? But the
Right.
1% doesn't care.
No. If we're not going to tax the top 83 billionaires who are running this fucking country right now, right? They don't have to pay shit. We have to cover their share. And that's what's going on here, right? You're going to tax single parents? Are you fucking dumb? I just talked to a father who's a single parent of 10 living in Seattle. You think he sleeps well at night? just trying to figure it out.
There's
I
a guy
mean,
who can't afford to
how you
lose his
want to
job.
protect
There's a guy, I
this?
wonder what happened to his health care, right? He better be on a great plan.
Oh my
Like,
God,
he loses his job, what happens?
screwed.
Where's he turn? What exchange is he going? What insurances could he possibly get? No, so that just means
Right.
10 kids out there who are going to be in the emergency room or are going to, like, die of
Yep.
something that they shouldn't have died of.
Yep. So, the poorer you are, the harder you're going to be taxed. Right? If you're making over, if I'm looking at it now, if you're making over 500,000, you get a tax cut of 47 large.
So
That's
explain to me
just,
why the MAGA guy making 60 grand a year, working construction, busting his ass. He's got his pickup truck with the Trump flag at the back of it. Comes on our chat board every once in a while if he happens to see
and
us to
shit.
call us a bunch of, yahoos who don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And Trump's the
Right.
greatest president of all time. Like, why? Why would that person think that Trump is the greatest president of all time or in any way is benefiting their life?
Well, because he thought we've been over this, Brock. He thought that they were only going to do it to them.
But
They're not going
even
to do
now that they're doing it to him,
right.
he's
He's
still
still right.
hanging in there. There's still 36% of America that approves of the job Donald Trump is doing. There's only 83 billionaires getting all the benefit. That's a
Right.
lot of people
Right.
who aren't making a lot of money and living the high life and all that, who are getting squeezed, who can't
Yep.
afford the eggs in the groceries, who are getting crushed or deciding to forego health care because they just got priced out of it by Trump's decision basically to take away their health care so that the
Yep.
billionaires could get these tax breaks, and yet they're still riding with Trump after the last year of their life unraveling in front of them.
Wait till somebody dies. Wait till somebody dies because they couldn't get to the hospital on time. Or they went to the emergency room and were sent home. And they come home because they didn't have insurance and die. That's going to happen. Wait
It
till
has to
the
happen. It's a numbers
hospital
game. You can't have millions of people drop off of the healthcare rolls because they can't
and
afford
nobody
it and
dies.
opt out
Right.
and not have negative outcomes. Like, we're not going to
Right.
have less car accidents. We're not going to have less illnesses, right? We're not going to have less freak injuries. Like,
Yep.
life is going to be the same. The only thing different is going to be how people are able to address the negative incidents that happen in their life and who's going to be able to address them and survive them and who to whom they're going to become catastrophic.
Right.
I guess my question to you though is, will those stories get told, or will just people die in silence on
Yeah.
their couch and no one's going to talk about it? Like, our media is not going to talk about it,
Media's
are
not
they?
talking.
So, like,
Our media's got nobody in Venezuela.
there's not even a local newspaper to put obituaries in anymore. So people just
No.
die and just fade away.
And you're done. End of story. And our media is asleep at the wheel. No one is covering the Venezuela action. We don't know what the hell's going on down there because our media is not covering it. Our media is not telling us the truth about the state of our economy. They were talking about growth. What fucking growth? People are laying people off left and right. Does that equal growth? I mean, we've had damn near 1 million people lose their jobs this year.
The growth is the 8 biggest companies in the world with a ton of cash
There
are
you go.
spending a ton of money on AI, putting money into AI companies who are then turning around and spending a ton of money back at those same companies that gave them the money, Amazon, Google, Oracle, with all their data centers. So it's like a circular flow of cash staying within a small group of companies and people, never
Right.
seen by anyone else in business until they build the data center and corrupt the water in a town near you.
Right.
And then, but that shows up in GDP. So from the aggregate, it looks like there is growth in the statistics. But once again, 99% of America isn't seeing or feeling it, right? It's like if like Jeff Bezos and 99 of us get together, then our average income is $100 million, right? He just happens to have 99.8% of that. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's it's math manipulation, and mass manipulation of the public. But yeah, media's failed us. Yeah, is there a single correspondent in Venezuela who's like on the ground or talking about what's going on? I haven't seen
I
squat.
haven't seen.
Now I don't watch it. I don't watch CNN anymore and shit like that because I don't believe they're gonna deliver me anything worthwhile. So, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing real news anywhere in any of that.
No, not at all.
Mark,
Not
yeah,
at
this is, I mean, the fact that we have to worry about international relations with all the problems we have going on domestically is just fucking absurd and just shows how you cannot have a psychopathic imbecile in mental decline in
all. Right.
charge of the world's greatest power and wealthiest nation. The ripple effects are everywhere in the
Yep.
globe.
Yep. Especially with the military might that we have. And I'm going to tell you right now, we don't want the smoke with China because we don't know what they have. We don't know what kind of weaponry they've got. And they've been blowing our doors off because we've been going backwards. We're still talking about coal, right? So our shit's going to be outdated. All right, quick hit me before we get out of here.
Well, quick hit is nothing makes me happier than the fact that the New Year's Eve performance at the Kennedy Center has been canceled
That
and
was
a
fun.
whole wave of artists in 2026 have
Said
canceled.
no
Most
way.
of them unknown to, not big names, right? Dance
Right.
groups, jazz groups, like, it's real cultural events there. It's not just star
Yep.
driven. Although I did see Issa Rae canceled her what was already sold out performance. She canceled it. And I saw the quote from one of the guys, I think he ran a dance company, and he said, or the jazz, a small jazz band, and said like it was economically devastating for us to cancel, but like
Hmm.
morally euphoric to do it.
I
So
mean, look,
kudos for all of those performers that stepped up and sacrificed their
yes,
their income.
yes. Um, because you know what? They don't deserve a performance at the Trump Kennedy Center right now. Whatever his hard on is for the Kennedy family, it's not our concern. We can go see them someplace else. And damn it, I will, because I'm going to make sure that, Doug Verone and Dancers is the guy you're talking about. If I get a chance to go see Doug Verone, you better believe I'm buying a goddamn ticket, right? Because I'm supporting everyone who is in favor of supporting our democracy. We talk about the rest of the world, but no, I don't see anybody leaving. And I know there are, the quiet few that are getting up out of here, but we live with a lot of luxuries here that we would miss elsewhere.
What do you got
So,
for me?
well, that was what I had. I was going to talk about the Kennedy Center cancellations. I will mention this tomorrow night. The Miami game, Miami Ohio State college football playoff, has been flexed to prime time. I think it's going to be a really good game, and we might be in for some upsets. So, from a sports perspective, I'm actually really interested in the next four games that are going to happen on, tomorrow and Friday. They're going to be some really good games,
Yeah, the playoffs should
or
be good.
Thursday rather. Yeah.
Mark, I will be in New York City tomorrow night for New Year's Eve for the first time in roughly 30 years,
Are
maybe
you kidding
more,
me?
35
You're
years. Yeah,
going?
I've avoided it like the plague, but it's a business occasion. I'm sure I'll have a good time, I think.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I've never seen the ball drop. I might see, maybe I'll see the ball drop tomorrow night. So yeah, but crazy enough, I'll be in the city and then will scamper back to the country for at least the next 3 months after the deluge of human beings I'm going to be a part of tomorrow night.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right, I'm looking forward to talking to you about that after it's done.
Pray for me. I am a little nervous about, the security is tight as a motherfucker.
I know. It's
But
got to
I
be.
am a little nervous being in any kind of group situation like that, just in the state of the world, right? Like,
Especially with all the people we pissed off lately. All right, keep your phone on you. Bring an extra charger.
all right, my friend, always a pleasure. So I won't talk. We
Right.
won't talk tomorrow. We'll pick this up again in the new year on New
Yeah.
Year's Day. We'll do it New Year's Day.
Yes,
All right,
sir. All right, my
all right,
friend.
Mark.